Hello, sixth graders. Happy Thursday. Let's get into our next lesson. Now we are on lesson 6, and we're going to be talking about dead zones today. What is a dead zone? Let's find out. Um, this was also talked about in the YouTube video from our lesson from the other day. So do not be surprised if I play that video again. Um, I might play that same video, but instead of looking at the part where they talk about fertilizers, I'll be asking you questions about when they discuss um, the dead zones as well. That video I like because it's nice and short and it has a lot of good video and pictures in it. So I might use that video again today, or I might use a different one. We'll just see. But same type of lesson as the other day, um, reading and then a short video. It even says reading. This is like a reading day. We're learning what a dead zone is. So we have to understand what that is for science. So please pay attention, answer the questions carefully, and as always, listen. I don't know. I don't know what I was about to say. Alrighty, well, let's get started. Lesson 6, the Gulf of Mexico dead zone, okay? Water problems like those found in the fictional Boomtown River are common in real communities all around the world. And that's something I have been discussing with you guys since day one of the third quarter. Boomtown is a fake scenario. However, it represents a lot of what's happening in I'm always saying in America, but also all around the world. Although many countries have laws designed to reduce contamination and require regular monitoring of water quality, nutrient pollution is still one of the leading global water quality problems. Okay. When water contains too many nutrients, such as nitrogen, a phenomenon called a dead zone can form. A dead zone is a nearshore area of water with little or no dissolved oxygen and therefore very few organisms. Worldwide, there are over 500 dead zones. The largest dead zone ever recorded in the world is located where the Mississippi River meets the Gulf of Mexico. In this activity, you will explore the causes and effects of dead zones. All right, so if we're looking at a map of the US, this is south, okay? Like this is kind of the direction towards, if this map was continuing, Florida would be down this way. It is south, okay? And we'll see why, okay? Because there's a lot of streams that end up emptying into the lakes here, and then that all streams down south. And as we know, the lakes and ponds and streams end up making their way, dumping into the ocean, okay? So then this huge dead zone, as we call it, occurs, okay? Let's read this down here. The Gulf of Mexico contains a dead zone that has reached an area over 22,000 kilometers, or almost 9,000 miles. The colors indicate the level of oxygen in the water from the lowest red to the highest blue. All right, so our overarching question, how does nutrient runoff affect the environment? Reading, how do dead zones form? Dead zones are a result of excess nutrients in the water. Once in water, nutrients help small plant-like organisms called phytoplankton to grow. Excess nutrients cause phytoplankton populations to increase quickly. While these organisms are a very important part of the ecosystem, too many of them can cause problems. So we always want to think with the mindset of things are good, but in small amounts. So even for us as humans, spinach and salads are very healthy for us, but if that was the only thing we ever ate, we would be lacking other sources of energy and fuel that our body needs. For example, we need some carbohydrates, we need protein from all different types of foods. So that's why nothing of trying to word this here. Too much of one thing is never good. For example, this is our water and dead zone example. We do not want too many nutrients running off. We do not want too many phytoplankton. Too much of anything is not a good thing. We don't want that. We want equal parts balance, okay? As the phytoplankton die and sink, they feed the bacteria on the bottom of the ocean. Bacteria, like most organisms, use oxygen. When the phytoplankton population increases, the bacteria population increases. If the bacteria population gets big enough, there is little or no oxygen left for other organisms. Dead zones were first noticed in the early 1900s. Starting in 1985, researchers began gathering samples in the area where water flows out of the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico. This gave convincing evidence that the Gulf of Mexico contained very high amounts of nutrients. Again, nutrients are good, but too much of it can lead to problems, okay? The data collected by scientists studying the area showed that the excess nutrients in the Gulf of Mexico came from human activities. It looks like, again, we're learning that human impact is affecting our land and water, such as fertilizer and fuel. Fertilizer, that's what we learned about just the other day. Farmers will use a lot of fertilizer, and this is a way that it is contaminating. Fertilizer, oops. My goodness, where was I? Here. Fertilizer contains nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, which plants need to grow. Farmers apply fertilizer to crops to help them grow. The fertilizer not absorbed by plants remains in the soil. When it rains, the nutrients are carried away by water into lakes, rivers, and oceans. This effect is increased if the fertilized soil is washed away. So again, too much fertilizer, although it makes our plants grow and makes there be a lot of crops and food that farmers can sell to grocery stores, too much fertilizer is not a good thing. Too much of anything is not a good thing, okay? That's a common thing that we have to notice in these lessons, okay? When it rains, the nutrients are carried away by the water into nearby lakes, rivers, and oceans. This effect is increased if the fertilized soil is washed away. Dead zones form where nutrient-rich river enters a lake or ocean and slows down, okay? Then all these things are gathered together over time. Okay. Where do the nutrients come from? The Mississippi River has a huge river basin, which is an area of land where water drains downhill onto the surface or through the ground into a river or a series of rivers. It's very important that we understand, we learned about this a few weeks ago, but it's very important, so I want to bring it up again. Rivers, if you're looking at the land, for example, of this picture, the rivers are at a higher elevation than the ocean, which is why a lot of time we're talking about river drains downhill or downstream. So rivers are always going to flow downward in the down direction because of gravity, of course. The rivers aren't flying up. When it rains, the rain goes downward, and the biggest streams and rivers end up dumping into oceans. Okay, that's a fact that we just have to keep in our minds throughout this unit. Okay, the Mississippi drains water from 41% of land in the United States. So a huge pocket of the rivers are dumping into this area, which is where we saw there's a dead zone. So there's a correlation between all the lakes and rivers that are major in America dumping into the Gulf of Mexico, which is where our dead zone is, okay? This means that the fertilizer put on the fields in Minnesota can travel all the way to the Mississippi Delta. This also means that there is no single source of pollution causing the Gulf of Mexico's dead zone. Not a single source. There's not one single source of pollution because it's coming from all these different states and all these different rivers that are ultimately going down to the lower Mississippi, then dumping into our ocean. Okay, there's not one single source because the water is all combining. So we can't tell from the water what state it's from. It is just this huge issue because all these lakes and streams are headed downward to the same location. So it makes us hard to pinpoint exactly where the issues are coming from because it's all combining, okay? As the water runs downhill towards the ocean, it picks up nutrients from the soil along the way. The nutrients in the Mississippi Delta can come from 31 different states. 31 different states are affecting the water quality of these lakes here. That's almost every state's pollution going, water flow, water quality, contaminants going into one pocket of water, dumping out into the Gulf of Mexico. It's crazy, 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 crazy. Given the vast size of the basin, it's not surprising that the dead zone at the mouth of the Mississippi River can also be vast. It has been as large as 8,776 miles. This dead zone is seasonal, growing in size during the warmer months of the year when bacteria can grow much quicker. Remember, kind of like we talked about the equator, more things can serve, more organisms and animals and plant life can survive in the warmer temperatures, but that also is causing bacteria to be able to grow more rapidly as well. If you think about it, in the winter time when everything is dead, you see less animals outside, you see less insects, you see less plant life. Things are dead, but once it's warmer, that is when there's higher quality living, so more things can grow. Okay, I think I might skip over a few things. We'll be done here shortly. We'll talk about what can we do? How can we cause this to be less of pollution towards our land and water? What can we do? There is evidence that dead zones can be reversed. After decades of nutrient inflow from commercial farming, the northwestern Black Sea developed a large dead zone. In the late 1800s, the economy of the area collapsed, commercial farming decreased, and the nutrient runoff dropped off by 50%. Over the next several years, the water quality improved. So dead zones are not good for anything, as the YouTube video we're about to watch soon is going to show. It's not good for people that need to make money with water, people that want to buy homes near the water. It really affects quality of life and affects a lot of people's lives and jobs. In the late, over the next several years, the water quality improved. Since then, careful management and continued reductions of emissions has helped the Black Sea recover. Fish populations have now increased to high enough levels that fishing has again become part of the region's economy. While commercial practices cause the most nutrient pollution, our everyday actions can make a difference. We can help by reducing our use of fertilizers and detergents and properly disposing of yard and pet waste. Other ways to help combat nutrient pollution is to reduce our consumption of fossil fuels by using public transportation, driving with friends to go somewhere as opposed to driving separately, making sure we're not using more fertilizer than we need. These are ways that we can help reduce this contaminant in our water. And using more energy efficient vehicles and reducing home energy use throughout more efficient heating, cooling, and lighting systems. So, turning simple tasks in your home can help this by turning lights off when you're not using it to save energy. In the summer, not blasting the air conditioning so high and maybe going to the pool instead. Or in the winter, not using so much heat. Those are things I'm going to ask a play pause question. What are ways that we can reduce the use of um, nutrient pollution? Okay. All right, that's going to be I'm going to stop with the reading now because that was a lot of content. And we're going to finish with watching a YouTube video.